Okay, I'm going to call the December 19th, 2022 meeting of the Fairport Industrial Development Agency to order and ask if there is any public comment for the board. Hearing no one and seeing no one, I'll close the public comment portion. And what we're going to do is we're going to move up on the agenda and we're going to take our audit presentation from EFPR. Sorry, I'm still having trouble with that. And so we can do that. We're going to cover that for all three agencies, correct, Martha?
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for having me tonight. As you know, I'm Christy Beach from EFPR Group, and happy to present the final results of our audits tonight. We met with the Finance Committee last week and went through everything in detail. So we'll keep it brief tonight, but you should have all the draft financial statements in your information and then just a brief summary that I'm going to go through. And once approved tonight, we'll get everything finalized so Martha can get everything uploaded to Paris later this week. So going through the document, you should have the status of our audits. We substantially completed our audits in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and in accordance with government auditing standards, which is what's required by Paris. The objective of our audits is to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance that the statements are free from material misstatement, which means we look at a lot of things, we request a lot of documentation, but we don't look at everything. But if something's to come to our attention, we bring that to the attention of management or we make adjustments, we will let you know. The scope of our audit is substantially the same that we described in our planning stage of the audit, which was back in September. We met with the Finance Committee. We expect to issue unmodified opinions on all three organizations. We did not, on the URA, we perform our audit in accordance with government auditing standards and uniform guidance. We do a federal single audit over the Section 8 program, so we have no findings to report this year on that. We have one item related to the LDC that we'll talk about in a moment over the controls, which is similar from last year. I'll explain that in a little bit. We will also issue an examination report on the investments for all 8 organizations because you have CDs. Paris requires an investment report to be uploaded as well. All information that we requested was freely available and management's cooperation was excellent. I think the audit went even smoother this year, the audits, the second time around, and you guys they're very organized. And the information you receive throughout the year is sufficient and you can be relied upon. So. One of the main new items this year, as described in your significant accounting policies, footnote 1, the major change this year was a new GASB related to leases. The only organization this affected was the IEA, and the ground leases that are 50 years, 70, I think one of them 70 years. In the past, you've just recorded the revenue each year as received, but GASB came out with a new GASB this year, new standard, basically saying they want you to report the receivable. So when you start these leases, you record a receivable and an offsetting deferred inflow, which is, it basically has zero effect, but they just like to make things complicated. So, so there's, when you look at the statements, you'll see about $3.5 million as a receivable and another $3.5 million as a deferred inflow, they call it. So they offset each other, but that was new this year. That was the major item to report on the IDA. Significant estimates that to discuss were items that require management's most difficult, subjective, and complex judgments. We have those listed as the allowance for uncollectible receivables or notes receivable, compensated absences on the URA, any useful life of your long-lived assets, so that would be any fixed assets, capital assets, and then the other post-employment benefits, so that's OPEB, and the net pension liability, which is the New York State retirement system. And the most significant disclosures, again, are the notes receivable, loans, leases receivable for all organizations, also the pension and the OPEB. And then as a result of that, we had to have a restatement because they wanted to be retroactively applied. We didn't have any corrected misstatements, material misstatements on the IDA or the LDC. And on the URA, we just have the adjustment for the pension and the OPEB, which is something we have every year. So that's something really to note is the fact that no significant adjustments were made. So that's just the information you receive monthly or things is accurate. On the next page, we just discussed the single audit. So again, this is done because of the Section 8 funding received on the URA. If you remember last year, we had one finding related to the depository agreement that was corrected this year. We didn't have any new findings to report. As part of our audit, we select 40 different case files our client files, and we look at many, many things. Jennifer's files are very organized, very neat, easy to follow. She's able to provide us all the documentation that we need. So that portion of the audit takes a significant amount of time. Probably takes the same amount of time to complete the audit of all 3 entities. So, so I'm happy to say that there are no findings related to that. We also, as part of our audits, we consider internal controls. We don't express an opinion on controls, but if something were to come to our attention, that we thought could improve controls, we would let you know that. We corrected the issue that we had last year related to just the documentation of the approvals. And one item that remains, which is, I told Martha it's hard for me to even report this, but last year we brought up a collateral issue with the LDC, and it's really the control over the process. So last year the collateral was under collateralized by about $80,000, I believe. This year, we've implemented good controls. At the end of the year, end of June, or not June, September 30th, it was still under collateralized by a very small amount, like a couple $100. She passed on it because it was an issue, but for our auditing standards, we have to, it's still under collateralized. The control. So in our view, we can't really take out the finding unless it's fully collateralized. So.
And it was disclosed to the board in the board package.
Okay.
I think it was $327.
It was so small, and I know,
But the controls are in place.
Yes.
Right?
So the controls are in place, but in order for me to say that they are in place, they have to be fully collateralized. So next year we have a plan. Right before you're on, I'm going to remind Martha, make sure that you move that $300, and we won't have this problem next year. So
I did move money
okay.
already, so we shouldn't have that issue.
So, but I just want to say thank you to Martha and Jennifer and Lily for all their help making audits go smoothly and efficiently. So we'll get everything finalized this week. And if anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. That's all I have.
The one deficiency that we had with LDC.
Yep, that was the collateral.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yes, very small, but we just have to report as part of our audit standards.
Ken, from the
Audit
committee.
Yeah, we, as Christy said, we met last week. We went through pretty much everything in detail. Pleased to learn all unqualified opinions. Our investments were all in order, all appropriate legal. No surprises in the audit. Full cooperation from the staff with the auditors. And it just was a very good report. We were happy to receive it. And on behalf of the committee, I would move acceptance of the audit for our fiscal year ended 9/30/22.
So I second that.
Leslie, is there anything you want to add from the audit committee?
No, I Ken covered it all, and it was in all reality a great audit. Our staff did a great job.
Ken, I know through his career and through his municipal career has seen lots of audits. So we take it seriously when he said this is a good one.
This is a good one.
Any questions from you, Rob, on any of this?
No, I appreciate the efforts that went into it in our committee and Martha and staff and your team too. Thank you.
Give our thanks to Jennifer too for getting a start here for cooperation.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything you wanted to add, Martha?
No, I do appreciate that. I'm very happy to be working with the FPR. It really is a very smooth process. They're very helpful. In particular, we had a couple of things that I asked them for their assistance on, and they were more than happy to help us take into account. And they understand materiality. And so it is a pleasure to work with them. But they're very thorough.
We asked a lot
Very
of
Why
thorough.
they're your auditors.
Yep.
That's right.
Mhm.
We wouldn't want an auditor that wasn't.
Right.
Anything else from anybody on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kristen.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Have a good holiday.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so now we'll get back to, and we'll start with the, let me get back to it. So the next item of business is a approval of the November 21st, 2022 IDA minutes, and 3 of the 4 of us were in attendance at that meeting, so we have 4 to vote on.
Move approval.
Second?
Are there any comments or corrections or additions to those minutes? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
And 1 abstention. All right, next item for the IDA is resolution 2022-12, authorizing payment of the IDA bills.
Having reviewed them in detail, I move payment of the IDA bills.
I'll second.
Any questions or anything you want to call our attention to, Martha?
No, you'll see the first installment of our contract with Black Dog. And then there'll be a monthly billing through May of next year.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Cash balance, oh, we did that cash balance. This. When I opened that investment report, it got my attention on page 1 of
Yes,
the Tompkins, but
Oh,
I knew what that was,
Right.
figured it out. It's just like, whoa, we had a bad hunt.
right.
Hey, you got a 345 on the CD, it says.
On the, yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's up there.
And I
these
think
days.
that might have been a 90-day. Mm-hmm. I will report that also today we received the $52,083 grant from New York State Canal Corporation. So we're going to take that money and when this other CD matures, we're going to be looking at investing back into treasuries. So we're working with Megan on that.
Anything from anyone on the financials? Old business for IDA.
I don't know if this would be old business or not, but I want to report in this meeting that prior to this meeting, we conducted a public hearing on the uniform tax exemption policy. We've notified affecting taxing jurisdictions, including Monroe County, Town of Carrington, Village of Fairport, and the Fairport Central School District. And there were no members of the public that attended the public hearing, nor did we receive any written materials or comments on the UTEP. So we'll be looking at that and bring that forward in January.
Anybody have any old business for IDA? Okay, move on to new business. The first item is that we did have our audit presentation. And also with us, we have included in our packet is a report on operations and accomplishments of the IDA.
Typically at this time of year, I'm doing my Paris reporting, Public Authorities Responsibility Information System. And so part of that is these reports on operations and accomplishments. I would ask you on the second page there to delete under the other. That was a leftover from prior year that I didn't edit out. But. So what I'm trying to just at a very high level recap what we did during the year in the IDA group. So that would be page 44, and the correction deletion would be on page 45. And maybe, Chair, we could take a motion to do all of those reports in one motion.
So then that would include the assessment of internal control.
Right. This is language prescribed to us by New York State for that report.
And then it would include the mission statement and measurement report.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And it would also include the actual Paris report.
Right. This is the excerpt that is required to be presented to the board because you can see other financial information that I'm reporting is already part of your normal business that we see every month. So because the Harris reports there's 5 reports for each entity with multiple. So this is the part that's required. So maybe if you had any questions on those or.
Let's get a motion on the
Oh,
floor.
sorry. Mm-hmm.
Second.
Any questions or Martha, anything that you want to go in further on?
I always enjoy doing this because we forget a lot of what we did early in the year during the fiscal year. So it's always interesting to recap these things. I'll remind myself to do this every month instead of waiting until the end of the year. I do that every year, but you'll see it later for the other entities as well.
And when is the presentation to the village board?
February.
February.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have that, and then we also have a meeting with a joint board meeting with the village board as well. Or are we going to do that in one meeting now? Have you even looked at it that far?
No, the joint board I think is already scheduled for. I can look that up.
They're both in February.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. Not leaving town because of it.
Oh, right. Oh, no, I have May 23rd.
It wasn't-
Oh, 2/28 of 23.
Right.
Mm-hmm, yes. I don't know that, I will inquire as to that.
Yeah, I mean, one is, I think there'd be more public involved in the regular meeting, but I don't know if they're doing joint board meetings with all of the boards like was traditionally done, or if it is just, this is a special one just between
I'll inquire.
us and them.
Mm-hmm. I'll inquire.
It's
Mhm.
better to do it twice.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions regarding any of that? The recording is going to be submitted. So, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anything else for Industrial Development Agency?
No.
Anyone? Okay. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mark, was this your next thing?
Yes.